All right, so I know a lot of people are out there looking at this thing and going, what is this thing? And what does it do? How does it work? What in the world is going on here? There are some people out there, friends of mine, that enjoy console gaming and saw this and thought, hey, this is something I could be interested in because it's kind of like a console PC mix. I want to be clear here. And I think some of the confusion is in the marketing that happened when Steam started trying to like jump into this console market kind of deal, right? There was the SteamLink and the Steam Box. These are two separate entities, right? The Steam Box is actually a standalone computer that is put together. You know, it's like a mini ITX build, a small form factor computer. That's a better way to put it for everybody. A small form factor computer that you would put in your living room, and it would literally be a computer in there. And from what I remember, the original idea was that it would run off the Steam OS. And the Steam OS is basically the big picture front end that that you have seen already in some of the footage I've shown. But basically there's the Steam OS, and that would be it, right? It would be its own thing. There would be other versions that would run off Windows with Steam preloaded on there, things of that nature. But the Steam Box was a computer, right? With a hard drive and a processor and RAM and all that good stuff. Just a fancy case that looked pretty similar to consoles, honestly. Was the big difference in my opinion. On the other end, on the other side of this is the SteamLink. That's what we're talking about here, the SteamLink. This is not a computer. Consequently, it is incapable of playing computer games. And I know that seems weird. I know that seems, what? I just watched you do it. But I wasn't. So I guess for the sake of the clarification here, there is no internal storage on a SteamLink. There's no way to add an SD card or anything like that. Consequently, you don't load games onto the SteamLink. This thing is a receiver. Okay? The way Steam works in this situation, it uses something that some people have used in home already and been using it for a while, called the Steam Streaming. Steam Streaming is where you have a centralized computer, like a primary gaming rig, and you can go on any other computer in your home, on your network, on your home network, and open up a Steam account there, your Steam account there, and use Steam Streaming to play the games that are on this computer on another computer. Here's what's weird about it. When playing the game in another room on a different computer, it's also simultaneously running on this computer. So there were several times when we would be playing video games. Well, I mean, you know, it's just how it was working. You would be watching someone play in here. My son in particular was enjoying Lord of the Rings, the Lego Lord of the Rings game. He would be playing in here. You'd walk by the office room here that I'm in right now, and you could see on the computer screen Lord of the Rings going on. The exact same things were going on both screens. The SteamLink acts as a pass-through, basically. It receives that gameplay that's streaming out to the SteamLink onto your TV. That's what it does. It does it by utilizing your local network in your home. Now, there's a few options in terms of how to do this. I went through during the setup video that I actually used the wireless networking as opposed to the wired. This was a necessary choice. And the reason I say it was a necessary choice is because the house I live in currently, is a rental. So I couldn't drill holes in the wall and run a networking cable from one room to the next. So the only way I could use this system was via, whatever you prefer to say, the wireless receiver. Now, according to all the literature that was sent with the SteamLink on the website, and even people have said other reviewers out there have said that it works better with wired networking. Well, that wasn't an option for me. I considered using wired network over Powerline, but I can't do that either because the outlets in this room are all GFCIs, and that doesn't really work well with networking over Powerline. Overly technical. I didn't want to get on in all this. Basically, I used the wireless networking and connected to my wireless network. As you saw in the last video, it found my computer. They connected, and what happened after that? Well, here's what happened. I played games. I went through and I played a bunch of different types of games. I played stuff in my Steam library. I played stuff outside of my Steam library. Because I've got other games, I've got old DOS games, I've got stuff from GOG, I've got stuff on Origin, I've got stuff on Uplay, I've got stuff on all the digital marketplaces in terms of video games. I've got them all over the place. And I've got stuff that I've had forever. I've got, like things down here that you actually have to install the old-fashioned way. So I tried a lot of stuff out. In this video, basically, I'm just going to discuss what happened when I played things on my Steam library and how did that go. How well did the streaming across there? Was the wireless a problem? In doing the wireless, did it cause any problems? Did I get any hiccups because of that? And we're going to discuss that as we go further. So I want to be entirely clear here. I am not going to discuss how well this worked based on the control scheme, because for most of these games I use the Steam controller. Consequently, that made things a little different. I'm not very used to that controller yet, so I'm not here to discuss that. What I am discussing is how well did it stream over the network. That's all I wanted to know. Like, how was the performance? And overall, the net here it streamed really well. I had very few problems in terms of gameplay, and in terms of actually, I had very few hiccups. And the hiccups that would happen would be slight stutters that honestly, you know what? If I was a competitive gamer and I was playing something like Counter-Strike or something, PUBG, something like that, yes, it would have been very frustrating. But I wasn't. My son was playing Lego Star Wars. I mean, not Lego Star Wars, but Lego Lord of the Rings. Yeah, that's what he was playing. He was playing Lego Lord of the Rings. Yes, it stuttered a few times while he was playing. Did it cause us problems? No. He finished the game. So it was a minor inconvenience. I played StarCraft for hours on this thing. Did it stutter? I think so, once or twice. I can't really remember very clearly. That's the thing, right? It happened so infrequently that I would forget. So, and it would only happen after playing for very long periods of time. But I just thought I would show off some gameplay footage of it in action, and how well did it work, and how smooth did it work. There were some things along the way that were problematic. The first being that my computer setup is a little different than a typical computer setup. Consequently, well, let's just explain it this way. My computer, I use an ultra wide monitor, a 21:9 aspect ratio monitor, in addition to a side monitor in portrait, but that doesn't really matter. The point is that the monitor is in a 21:9 monitor, and that means that the resolution on my monitor, and the resolution I play most games at, is 2560 by 1080, as opposed to the usual 1920 by 1080 on a standard HD television. The problem came in when I would open games up. The thing about it is because the SteamLink basically streams the games off your computer, it just loads them up as they were playing on your computer. When that happened for me, I would have to go back to the game and in the settings and change the resolution back to 1920 by 1080. The headache came in whenever I would come back in here to play them on the computer. and I would have to turn them back to 2560 by 1080. So there was a lot of bouncing back and forth in terms of my resolution. I really would have appreciated the ability to for the SteamLink somehow to automatically do that for me, but I can understand why it's not there, because once again the SteamLink is just kind of a dumb machine, and it's just picking up what it does. Another irritation, and sometimes this was triggered by graphic problems and things like that, was periodically I would be trying to load up a game and then nothing would happen. And a lot of times this happened because of crashes on the computer or pop-ups that would come up. And when that happened, it would just like stop everything that was going on until I rectified the situation. In some instances, it would be as simple as with using the Steam controller, the pop-up would actually come up on the screen in there on the SteamLink, and I could just move use the trackpad thing to move the mouse cursor over what I wanted to exit and then close it out. More often than not, that was the problem. Interestingly enough, the game behind me that's playing right now is a game called Painkiller. And in that game, it's an older game, and it actually was released back when GameSpy was a thing. Some of you older PC gamers out there, people that have been playing PC games for a while, know what GameSpy was. And basically, it wanted me to load GameSpy. Well, when I hit the thing, when I hit launch, the launch button, nothing happened. And then nothing happened, and then nothing happened. And I was like, okay, is there something wrong? Did this thing freeze up? What's going on? Because nothing was going on. So I ran back in here to check things out, and what had happened was the launcher for the game itself had popped up for the installation of GameSpy, and it wouldn't pop up on the screen in there because it was a separate entity, and I had to stop it and actually go in and I had to do some research and find out how to stop that from happening. I did the research. I found how to stop the GameSpy from requesting me to install it. I did that, and then it launched just fine, as you can see. And it played really well. I was really impressed. And this is one of those games that gets really kind of hectic periodically. In the game, the particular part that I played through, a lot of enemies, things like that. You get swarmed constantly, and you would think the game might bog down a little bit. Had no problems at all. It played beautifully. It played as expected, and from that standpoint, it was awesome. There were other problems, but once again, to me, they were minor speed bumps along the way. So another interesting situation was playing the original Fallout. I tried to launch it, and it froze. But it froze because of an error message or something on the computer. I can't remember exactly what happened. I know I captured it, or at least what happened on the SteamLink. I've got the footage of what happened on the SteamLink. I don't have footage of what happened on the computer. But, well, at least not completely, because you could see that I had apparently left the room at some point, and then things on the computer start happening. That's because I had moved into the other room, had to come back into the computer room and figure out what was going on and why it was locking up and what was wrong with it. Fallout's an older game, and I actually ended up having to close the game out, close Steam out if I'm not mistaken, because I think that's what's going on right here, and then reconnect. But once I got that configured right, it launched up. Once I got it launched up, it ran just fine. Granted, I died within a couple minutes because a rat killed me, but that's Fallout, and that has nothing to do with the SteamLink. That's just Fallout's butthole in the mouth hard, and you can't help it. So in the end, there was a lot of things that actually impressed me about this, and one of those being is how well it handled some things that I didn't think it would be able to handle. Dirt 3 is a racing game that I actually really enjoy because I like rally racing. I like those games. And I thought if there's going to be anything that I'm going to notice problems, it will be a racing game. a few very minor things that happened, and yeah, it ran really smoothly. I had very few problems in terms of steering and handling, and I finished the race just fine. I wrecked once just because. The thing is some of this I think may be attributed to the controller I was using, because I actually believe that whenever I did this, I was actually using the PlayStation 3 controller, and my PS3 controller is a little it wigs out a little bit, and you know, it is what it is. For the most part, it moved just fine. I had no problems with it. There wasn't any stutter that I really remember outside of what was going on. It seemed like a control issue, not as much a stream issue. It drove great. And that's one of those things, is like, this is that kind of game that, like, a racing game is going to be something that you're going to really notice bad frame dropping and skipping, because it needs to be really smooth in order to drive really well, I think. I had no problems. It worked beautifully, and it was actually kind of great, because you know, I like playing this game, and this is a great game to play from the couch. And of course, I had to test some fighting games, one in particular, at least one, right? I tried Mortal Kombat 9, and I had really no problems with it. It ran fine. I think there might have been a stutter once or twice, maybe during a fight, but I honestly can't remember for sure. For the most part, it played very well, and considering, you know, yes, this is an older game, it's a pretty intense game to think about it having to stream wirelessly and play it. You know, and it worked really well. I noticed no delays. I noticed the timings all seemed okay. You know, it wasn't a problem for me. So overall, in terms of streaming it over the network, it worked really well, and I was actually blown away. I was really actually kind of apprehensive here. I was worried because of the situation with our networking here. I was really concerned. We've had some issues in terms of the Wi-Fi, you know, in spots, and there's been times that even in the room on that TV using wireless for Netflix and things of that nature, we've had problems, and I was really concerned that we would have problems with this, but so far it's been just fine. Is it perfect? Not really, but overall it's been real damn impressive, and I was blown away, honestly. I really was. So what I thought I would do is I'll let you guys check out some gameplay footage. I captured so much gameplay footage. All of the games that I'm showing at this moment are available on Steam. So I played them directly from Steam. I didn't have to do any trickery here to get them into my Steam library, things of that nature. These are things that you can go buy on Steam. You could actually buy from the system. Check out some gameplay footage, and let's see. You be the judge. So a few other little things that I feel like kind of fit here to explain. If games have support for a controller natively, it'll work out the box. No problem. As soon as you hook up, you're good to go. Other ones, you will have to go and use controller configurations, but every time you try to launch a game without controller support, and you'll know the difference because the ones with controller supports will have a tiny little icon, a little controller icon on its on its logo or whatever, and the other one will have like a keyboard icon. But when you launch it up, it will recommend a configuration that someone somewhere has painstakingly put together and made work with the controller, and that was awesome. And hats off to those of you out there that have made these configurations for controllers. I'm actually got one that I'm trying to work on for a real-time strategy game that I'm trying to play on here. I think it would improve my gameplay on it. But that being said, if you can't find one, usually there's a generic one that might work with the game you're working with. So, I mean, I encourage you to try it out. Another question that popped up, this actually happened, my wife actually asked this before we realized we could use the PlayStation controller and then problem solved. What about two-player games? Could she play in there, let's say we're playing Metal Slug, or let's say we're playing, what's another game we've been playing? Brawlhalla, or something like that we both want to play at the same time. Could she play in there and I play in here? No, it doesn't really work that way, because basically the SteamLink completely takes over. It takes over the sound, it takes over the video. I mean, there's still a video output over here, but it takes over the sound, and it doesn't really work that way. If you try it, basically the computer ends up taking back over, and then I would be the one controlling the game and not her, and it just becomes back and forth like that, and it doesn't work that way. But once we figured out we could use other controllers, and we tested out some other controllers on there, that eliminated that problem and that necessity. And plus, it made it even better because especially something like Brawlhalla or even Metal Slug and things of that nature, sitting side by side with somebody and playing that kind of game is a lot more fun. Overall, the in-home streaming worked really well for us. The controller, in terms of using a controller in there, even with games that you wouldn't typically use it with, worked really well. Who is this for? At the end of the day, who is this for? And I think that's really, I think it's an important question to ask yourself. Like, why do I need this? If I already have a computer, why in the world do I need a device like this that does this? I'll tell you why I needed it. My son is 6. He loves playing video games. He loves playing video games on my computer. He loves playing video games on a console. He doesn't care. He wants to play some games. And he has gotten to where he really wants to play games on my computer, mostly because I have a pretty extensive library available to select from. And so he's always discovering new games, and I'm showing him new games that he can try out and things of that nature. And so he wants to play games on the computer. That being said, when he does play games on the computer and he hits a button wrong or something like that, he starts fiddling around and just tapping buttons, hoping it stops, you know, or it goes to where he wants it to go. And that became a problem. It got to a point where I didn't want to let him play games anymore on my computer, because I was afraid of what he might do. You know, completely innocently and completely by accident. But, you know, that's still a real problem. This is a great solution for that. He can play the games, and if anything happens, there's no other buttons for him to hit and fiddle with and mess up with. He can literally just come back in, come grab me and say, look what happened, and I can figure it out, as opposed to him trying to fix it himself. Those kind of problems are actually minimal, honestly. He can use the same controller every time he wants to play. It's an easy interface for him to look through and find games he likes to play. It really is a great solution for that. It's a great solution for people like my wife. This is overwhelming for her. The Steam library is overwhelming for her, and the way the computer is set up can sometimes come across as overwhelming for her. She loves the interface. I personally like the interface. It has that feel of console. It's really great. I really think that's kind of what it's geared for, is people that want to expand what's available to them. And you know, there's also that sect of people, myself included, that really want to play some games in the living room and still be social and not try to completely block themselves off from everybody else in their home. In my case, I wanted to play games like StarCraft. There was something about playing StarCraft in the living room that appealed to me so greatly that I was really excited about getting this just to play freaking StarCraft. And that's really weird, but it was what it was. So overall, I've got to say that the in-home streaming, even over wireless, worked pretty good, considering, well, considering the kind of games I was playing, and I had very, very few problems. That's it for part 2. Part 3, next time, I'm going to talk about trying games outside of Steam. I actually had games that I had to import into my Steam library, and then I got to play in the living room. And how did that go? What happened? Were there errors? And what happened? How did I fix those problems? And how do I address that? And is gaming really all this thing can do? Are there other things that it's capable of? And how well does that work? I mean, how's that go? Can I watch Netflix on this? Check me out next time. We'll talk about all those things and probably a lot more as I continue to ramble about this crazy thing that honestly so far I'm really in love with. I'm totally glad I got. That's it. If you want to, check me out later. If not, thanks for stopping by. Until next time.